Hello dear children, welcome back to chemistry class. So far we have learnt about three methods of separation that are used to separate a solid-solid mixture. That is sieving, magnetic separation and sublimation. We have also learnt one method for solid-liquid mixture separation. That is filtration. So in today's class we are going to learn about two more methods of separation to separate a solid-liquid mixture. That is sedimentation and decantation and also evaporation. So let's begin with sedimentation and decantation. First, let us see what is sedimentation. Before we go in to see what is the technique involved in this method of separation, remember that this method of sedimentation is applicable only for a solid-liquid mixture, wherein the solid is insoluble in this liquid. Now look into this picture here. A solid-liquid mixture is taken in a beaker, wherein the solid is insoluble in this liquid, which means the solid is not soluble in this liquid. Now, as this mixture is allowed to stand for some time in this beaker, all these insoluble solid particles will start settling at the bottom of this beaker, while the liquid will be collected on top of this beaker, like how you see here in this picture. So these insoluble solid particles that settles at the bottom of this beaker is called sediment, while the liquid that is collected on top of this beaker is called supernatant. So this process of separation of a solid-liquid mixture, wherein all the insoluble solid particles are collected at the bottom of the beaker and the liquid is collected on top of the beaker by allowing the solid-liquid mixture to stand for some time in this beaker, is called sedimentation. Now, as this liquid is collected on top of this beaker, it can be poured out to another container like how you see here in this picture. So this process of pouring out of this liquid into another container, leaving behind all the insoluble solid particles in this beaker itself, is called decantation. So why do you think that these insoluble solid particles are settled at the bottom and not at the top? This is because of the weight of these solid particles and also due to gravity. So this method of separation is based on the principle of settling down of these particles by gravity on allowing it to stand for some time in this beaker. So this is the process of sedimentation and decantation. Now let us see an example of sedimentation and decantation. An example of sedimentation that we are going to see now is one of the methods that we all do at home to purify drinking water. That is sedimentation of impurities in drinking water. Addition of alum, which is a chemical compound that is present in a solid form, will hasten the process of sedimentation, which means addition of alum to drinking water which contains impurities will speed up the process of sedimentation. Now let us see how it happens. Addition of alum to drinking water which contains impurities is an age-old method which we use to purify drinking water. Now look into this picture here. We see that this mixture contains insoluble impurities. That is, it is a solid-liquid mixture wherein these impurities are insoluble in this liquid. Now we are going to remove these impurities with the help of this process called sedimentation. As you see here, as a piece of alum is added into this mixture, what we observe is this alum get attached to all these impurities and this will make these impurities heavier and thus all these impurities will settle down at the bottom of this beaker. So addition of this alum to this water, which contains impurities, will fasten the process of sedimentation. Now, as all these impurities will settle at the bottom, we can remove this water that is clear, which we obtain at the top through the process of decantation. And on boiling this water, it is made suitable for drinking. Thus, we can separate clear water and insoluble impurities that are present in this mixture. So far, we have learnt about 3 methods of separation used to separate a solid liquid mixture. That is filtration, sedimentation and decantation. As we have already seen, in all these 3 methods, insoluble impurities are removed from the liquid. So now we are going to see how soluble impurities can be removed from liquid. So this method of separation is used for a solid liquid mixture wherein the solid is soluble in the liquid. One such method is evaporation. Now look into this picture here. We all would have seen this at least once, isn't it? Yes, it is water that is boiled and it gets converted to water vapors, like how you see here in this picture. Or otherwise, water that is in the liquid form on heating gets converted into vapor form. This is nothing but evaporation. This method of evaporation is based on the principle of evaporation of liquid component present in a soluble solid liquid mixture. Now let us see what is the technique that is involved in this method of separation of soluble solid liquid mixture. Look into this picture here. Now we are going to separate a mixture of solid liquid wherein the solid is soluble in the liquid. So this mixture is taken in an evaporating dish. As you see here, the solid is soluble in the liquid. Therefore, we call it as a solution, which means here the solid is called solute and it is dissolved in the liquid, and this liquid is called solvent. Now, as it is kept for some time, or as on heating this evaporating dish which contains the mixture with the help of a burner, all the liquid that is present in this mixture will evaporate, as you see here, in the form of water vapors. The liquid present in this mixture is converted into water vapors and it will escape out of this evaporating dish into the atmosphere. And what that is left behind in the evaporating dish is the solid. This solid is the solid that was initially dissolved in this liquid. So we see here that on evaporation, the liquid is lost into the atmosphere and this liquid component cannot be recovered back, while the solid that was initially dissolved in this liquid now remains in this evaporating dish. Thus, the solid can be separated from the liquid. So this process of conversion of a liquid into a vapor form in order to separate a solid that is dissolved in the liquid is called evaporation. So I repeat, evaporation is the process of conversion of a liquid into a vapor form in order to separate a solid that is dissolved in the liquid. Now let us see a very common example of evaporation. That is evaporation of common salt solution, or otherwise evaporation of seawater, which leaves behind common salt. Now let us see how it is done. As we have seen in the previous case, in this technique, the solution or otherwise this mixture is taken in this evaporating dish as you see here. Here we are taking mixture of salt and water, which means it is a solution of salt and water, that is salt is dissolved in water. Now as this solution is heated, the water that is present in this mixture will evaporate into form water vapors, and these water vapors will escape into the atmosphere. And what we get finally is this solid particles that are white in color as you see here in this evaporating dish. So at the end of this process, solid particles of salt will remain in this evaporating dish, while the liquid gets converted into vapor and it will escape into the atmosphere. Thus, we can separate this solid particles of salt from liquid. So with this, we have come to the end of all methods of separation. We have learned different methods of separation of solid-solid mixtures and solid-liquid mixtures.